Welcome to the best football show. I'm Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL. You can find this podcast, this daily podcast, by downloading a free Odyssey app, odyssey.com. Just download it, and then you can find this show. All right, you can like it, subscribe to it, comment on it, leave a suggestion, you name it. We do a number of live shows. This one is not live, but this is being taped on Wednesday, June 18th. And what we've decided to do is, since it's really kind of dead between now and the start of training camp, which really is about, I think the Chargers report in about a month. All right, so regardless, we're going to break down each division. We're in the AFC East right now. I gave you an overview of the East. We're going to go team by team. Today, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. And really, they've had a very quiet offseason. A couple players have come and gone. A couple players have, been traded. Bryce Huff traded to the San Francisco 49ers. Didn't fit in Vic Fangio's defense, even though a year ago he was awarded a 3-year, $51 million contract. He no longer is a Philadelphia Eagle. Nolan Smith Jr. is the starting outside linebacker, where Bryce Huff was scheduled to pencil in that position. But, they drafted Nolan Smith at the end of the first round 3 years ago, and he has really come on. But this has been a very quiet offseason. I saw him live at an OTA 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago today. And outside, just a couple of guys, Lane Johnson wasn't at that one. But, for the most part, it was 100% attended. There was Jalen Hurts handing it off to Saquon Barkley, on and on and on. Jihad Campbell, the first-round pick out of Alabama, was on the sideline. He was dressed. He just didn't practice. He had surgery not long ago, so he's still recovering. But really a very quiet offseason. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was a really good player for him in 2 trips to a Super Bowl. One they lost to Kansas City, one they beat Kansas City. But in those 2 years that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was in Philadelphia, he had 12 interceptions. Nobody else in this league can say that. But outside of that, it's been pretty quiet. And so let's just talk about the team. I mean, the 3 receivers return intact. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson. They're all first-round picks. They're all elite players. Jahan Dotson was picked up late in the year and came on. Really didn't have much of an impact. They have a bunch of guys, Aeneas Smith, they drafted last year. They drafted Miles Hinton this year. They've had some guys, but they've got their 3 starters. They got Dallas Goedert brought back on a 1-year deal. People thought that maybe they weren't being able to afford him. Somehow they found the money for him. The only loss, think about this. This was a great offense. A great offense. They lost 1 player and 2 coaches, all right? They lost 1 player, Mekhi Becton. And they knew they were going to lose him. He had a great season. He started all 21 games for the Eagles a year ago. They lost him to the Chargers. But they went and traded for they made a couple of trades. They've got and they've drafted a bunch of players. I mean, Trevor Keegan was drafted last year. Tyler Steen was drafted 2 years ago. Matt Pryor was brought back, all right, after starting last year for the Chicago Bears. Miles Hinton, Chris Hinton's son out of Michigan, was drafted this year. They've got nothing but, depth. Kenyon Green was traded from the Houston Texans, a former first-round pick. All those guys will compete for the right guard job between Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens, along with Landon Dickerson and the left side, Dickerson and Jordan Mailata. They're all coming back. Hurts is at quarterback. They drafted Kyle McCord, all right, out of Syracuse. He's a local kid from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Went to St. Joe's Prep. Threw the ball for 3 years at St. Joe's Prep to Marvin Harrison Jr., went off to Ohio State, all right, Notre Dame, and here he is with the Eagles. And then, they elevate Tanner McKee, who they really like, who was a 6th-round pick 2 years ago. All right, quarterback situation looks good. Saquon comes back after 436 touches. It's crazy, 436 touches. There he is in the offseason and minicamp. He's out there running and no injuries, healthy. When he's not, playing football or playing, doing daddy duties, the guy plays golf. Like, he should be fine. Now, can he handle that kind of a load? That's a question. But they went and got A.J. Dillon from Green Bay. They had drafted Will Shipley last year in the 4th round. So they're going to be in good shape offensively, real good shape. The schedule is brutal. All right, the schedule is brutal. Obviously they open up with the Cowboys. They play the Rams. But it doesn't matter. They'll be favored in every game. The first 4 games, they play the Bucs, they play the Rams, they play the Cowboys. It's going to be tough. All right. Still going to be favored. Defensively, they lost a lot. All right. They lost some defensive linemen, Josh Sweat, Williams, defensive tackle. But, here comes Jordan Davis, the first-round pick, will start, along with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith. Now, Ty Robinson, they've already started raving about him. He's the 4th-round pick out of Nebraska. I mean, he's a 3 technique. He can, play out wide. But he's a 3 technique. He's going to play in there in the tackle rotation. They like rotating. They like to play a reduced front, which means they cover up the 2 inside guards in the center, and they play their outside linebackers. They play that front a lot to stop the run against teams that want to run the ball. They bring back, of course, Zach Bond, who easily could have been the defensive player of the year in this league. Started all 21 games, had a remarkable season, over 150 tackles, 4 forced fumbles, sacks, you name it. He comes back completely healthy. Nakobe Dean was banged up during the year, didn't finish the season. He's back. Jihad Campbell was a 1st-round pick. They brought in Josh Uche, all right, from New England, and they brought in an outside linebacker also in Ojulari, Azeez Ojulari, all right, who's bounced around this league, has had good seasons, has had injury problems. Now, in the secondary, okay, they lost Slay. They lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, all right? But they bring back Cooper DeJean. They bring back Quinyon Mitchell. They bring back Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown, all right? Keely Ringo was drafted in the 4th round 2 years ago. He gets the first shot to start. But there's Adoree Jackson, who's been a starter in this league in a number of places. They drafted Andrew Makuba, all right, from Texas in the 2nd round. Here he is. So they literally, and Vic Fangio returns. The big question mark, honestly, for this whole team is, all right, so you lose Kellen Moore. And you lose Doug Nussmeier. Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator, the play caller. Was excellent. Right now, I think that Jalen Hurts has had a different play caller for every year, going back to Alabama, Oklahoma, and throughout the Eagles' tenure. He's had a different play call. All right, so he's gotten used to it. But, they've taken Kevin Patullo, who was the quarterback coach a year ago, who's been with Nick Sirianni from his days in Indy, is the play caller. All right? They hire Bowling Green's former head coach to be the quarterback coach. There's Jeff Stoutland coaching the offensive line. There's Vic Fangio, coaching the defense. Position coaches are in place. There's not a lot that has really changed. This is a team that was 13-4. 13-4. I'm sorry. They were 14-3 in the regular season a year ago. 14-3 and went 4-0 in the postseason. They won 18 games a year ago. So you go, okay, let's just say, I don't know. I mean, anything could happen. Super Bowl hangovers do happen. They had 5 less weeks than the Dallas Cowboys, all right, who are coming to town on September 4th. All right. They've had 5 less weeks to prepare in the offseason. But the Cowboys have had a full coaching change. All right. They got to get guys healthy. They've got new running backs from a year ago. They got their share of changes in Dallas. I know they've had 5 more weeks to rest, repair, and recover than the Eagles have. But like I said, watching the Eagles this offseason, you don't see guys on the shelf, guys rehabbing injuries. I mean, everybody looks pretty healthy to me outside of Jahad Campbell and Nakobe Dean. Everybody else, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, out there at minicamp, working on the business, taking care of their business, working to get better. So they have restocked in a lot of ways, a lot of young players. Moro Jomo becomes a starting defensive tackle. Ty Robinson, could easily be a starter, but he'll rotate in with the defensive line. We'll see if Jordan Davis, a high first-round pick, can stay on the field long enough to impact games in the passing game. He hasn't been able to do that on any regular basis. His agent has contacted me about what he hopes. Vic Fangio says he's in the best shape that he's seen, and Vic has been around him for 2 years. All right. He was around him in 23 as a consultant. I'm sorry, around him in 22 as a consultant, and then in 24 as a defensive coordinator. So he says he's in the best shape. All right, we'll see. He's got to stay on the field. But regardless, Jalen Carter, there's games last year when Jalen Carter played 100% of the snaps. I think that's too many. He can do it, but I think he'd be more effective if he was playing 85% and taking a rest here and there, coming off 4 series. But he's just that good. And Nick Sirianni, got a contract extension, and rightfully so. The guy has got a crazy winning percentage. He's been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. He's been to the playoffs every year he's been the coach here. He inherited a team in his first season that was 4-11-1 and got him into the postseason in his first year. So I think that, Jake Elliott comes back as the kicker. Braden Mann, is the punter. Like, they don't have many holes to fill. And the drafts over the last 3 years, we'll find out about this year. We'll find out about Makuba. We'll find out about, Jahad Campbell, Ty Robinson. We'll find out pretty soon. But they have nailed their drafts. That's why they're an elite team. And then they figure out the salary cap better than anybody else. So they have all their players, all their star players locked up under contract. Zach Bond, great season, extended. All right. He's not going anywhere. Saquon Barkley comes on a 3-year deal. All right. Extended. Lane Johnson, the highest paid right tackle in football. Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all locked up. Somehow they keep Dallas Goedert as their tight end for another year. They're going to have to figure out Jalen Carter. But there's no, he's still, a young player. He's fine. They don't have to do anything with him this year. Next year would be a good time to get something done with Jalen. I mean, they're the team to beat in this whole, in the NFC East. They're the team to beat in the NFC. I don't care what their schedule is. Everybody in the NFC East has a tough schedule this year. All right? But they won 18 games a year ago. And they're healthy. And they lost their offensive coordinator. And they lost a couple starters on defense. All right. I'll just tell you about Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat went to Arizona in free agency. Okay. When Josh Sweat was drafted out of Florida State, I believe 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I mean, he was coming off a horrific knee injury. And they said, he's going to be on a pitch count. It's a ticking time bomb. Well, the guy's is an A-plus worker, is a really good player. But honestly, I think the Eagles feel fortunate they got 6 years out of Josh Sweat, and didn't have any major injuries with him, and was a steady force, rushing and passer. Had a great, but they drafted Jalix Hunt last year in the 3rd round. I'll see him next week at the SAC Summit in Las Vegas with Max Crosby and Von Miller and the whole group, Cam Jordan. I mean, there's Jalix Hunt, the end of June, Super Bowl champion, coming off a rookie season where he got a chance to play. And you can see the talent. And there he is going to the SAC Summit, learning from some of the best pass rushers. That's the type of players the Eagles have drafted. You watch what Ty Robinson does out in Nebraska. I saw Matt Rule at the Combine this year. They had one player that was being drafted in the defensive line. Ty Robinson, Matt Rule went, and he raved about it. And I've known Matt since he was a head coach at Temple 10 years ago, head coach at Temple, reviving that program. He knows something about defensive linemen. They're all over the league, including, guys like Hassan Reddick. But he put a stamp on Ty Robinson. And then you talk to the players and you hear the buzz coming out of this offseason. Ty Robinson is going to help this football team this year. I thought he was an elite prospect. They got him in the 4th round. Regardless, that's the Eagles, folks. That's the best football show. They're still the team to beat. Now, we know how hard it is to repeat. Okay, fine. There's only a couple teams that have done it in recent history. But they look like the team to beat for the first time. Jalen Hurts isn't coming off any injuries. He's been healthy, working out. So they got everybody back that they needed. They lost a couple of players, and they look like they've restocked the shelves pretty good. All right? We will get to the rest of the teams in the NFC East, including the Washington Commanders, who won 12 games in the regular season, 2 games in the postseason, and lost to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. We will get to the Washington Commanders next. Thanks for joining me, everybody, right here on the Best Football Show.